Perfect. Perfect.
All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. And I'm your tour guide around the SWAC. See what else coming at you. And today we're gonna wrap up our questions, things that make you go just random thoughts on each team. Series that we kind of impromptu came up with. We're gonna wrap that up today. We're gonna talk Alabama State. Hornets. We'll talk about their offense or lack thereof. Before we get into our 12-team previews, we actually start on Sunday with Alabama A&M. Our Alabama A&M preview will be dropping Sunday afternoon. So make sure you check that out. Alabama State will be coming on Wednesday. So just one, like I said, just to kind of explain what this is. This was kind of like something I just kind of stumbled into. Just kind of talking about some of the things that certain teams, that they're facing this upcoming season. Not really a preview per se, but just kind of an appetizer to lead into the previews. So with that being said, as you can see on the screen, I think it's Alabama State in 2023. Can the offense come out to play? And we'll talk about the offense from last season and, and what kind of outlook they should have going into this season. So with that being said, if you want to check out the list of the team previews and when your favorite team is coming, hit the socials. Facebook is SWAC Talk, Instagram SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC76. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're making that march to 1K. If you would like to do so, you can become a member of the channel. Everything is on the front of the YouTube channel page. Also, if you want, you can hit that super thanks button on the video and hit that like button while you're there. And feel free to comment and hit that notification bell. So take care of all that little business. And now let's go ahead and get into this, man. We're not gonna mess around too much today. If I had to pick a word to describe this offense, man, it would be ugly. I think last season they had some potential pieces. I mean, you had, Demetrius Davis coming in with a lot of hype. You had Corey Merritt returning. You had Santo Dunn coming in as an explosive type of guy. You had Jeremiah Hickson at wide receiver as your known quantity. And then you would end up toward the end of the season developing a guy, Keyshawn Johnson, and Juwan Howell as a power back. Quarterback play was not great last season for various reasons, and then you lose Miles Crawley, who some feel should have been a starter. You lose him to Grambling, so that kind of hurts as well. But looking at this offense last season, they if it wasn't for Valley, in a lot of situations, this team would be last. They were 11th in scoring offense at 19.4 points per game. They scored 26 touchdowns on the season, which I believe is the second fewest of any team in conference play in the conference. Total offense, they were 11th at 307 yards per game. They averaged 5.1 yards per play. Just not great numbers. Rushing offense, they were 11th again at 111 yards per game. They only averaged 3.1 yards per carry. They did have 12 touchdowns in the season, which was one of the fewest numbers, was the third fewest in the conference. Passing offense, they were about average. They were sixth in the league in passing offense at 195 yards per game. They threw 12 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. They were actually third in passing efficiency at 136 on the efficiency rating. And they completed 60% of their passes, which surprised me, which that was the second highest completion percentage of any team in conference. That kind of surprised me. Seeing the numbers and everything, you figured they would not, but I think they threw a lot of safe things and didn't really risk a lot of downfield throws. Uh, they were mid pack in the offensive line. They allowed 30 sacks, which was eighth in the league. Third down conversions, they were last. Excuse me, no, that's not right. They were actually fifth in the league in third down conversions at 39%, but they only had 136 third down attempts, which was last in the league. So they didn't really face a lot of third downs. I mean, I guess you go 3-and-out, like you're not going to face a whole lot of third downs because you're not moving the ball that much. That's really an indicator that they did not move the ball very well. Fourth down conversions, they were last at 16%. They only attempted 12 fourth downs. That's the fewest in the league, and they only converted 2, which was also the fewest in the league. When you look at red zone offense, they were not good in the red zone at all. They were 20 of 34 in the red zone for 58%. That 58% was the lowest number by like 11%. So they really almost half the time, a little bit more than half the time, they got points. So almost 6 out of 10 times they scored in the red zone, which is not that great when you're looking at teams that are in the high 80s, scoring in high 80s and high to low 80s and the high 70s in the red zone, and this team was not really there that often. 14 touchdowns in the red zone. They kicked 6 field goals in the red zone. They turned the ball over a lot in the red zone. They had 3 fumbles, 4 interceptions, and 2 turnovers on downs. So they turned the ball over 9 times in the red zone. The 3 fumbles were the second most in the red zone, and 4 interceptions were tied for the most in the red zone. And so they just were not efficient. I would love to say they were explosive, but at the same time, they typically found ways to not be explosive. Their longest play on the season from the passing perspective was 67 yards and 61 yards after that. The longest run on the season was 50 yards. So other than that, they had a 38-yarder and a 37-yarder. They just did not really have a lot of explosive plays, and they couldn't really drive the ball either. So when you look at this team just not really being an offense that could make you pay one way or the other, and I think the main problem this team had was it didn't necessarily have an identity. Some games, they ran the ball, they ran the ball over 40 times, like 3 times. For the most part, they ran the ball over 30 times pretty much every game except for 1. But they didn't really throw the ball a lot either. 32 attempts were their most on the season, and that was against UCLA. 31 against Pine Bluff. Those were the only 2 games that they threw the ball over 30 times. They threw the ball over 20 times. 8 out of 11 games they threw the ball over 20 times, and the other 3 they threw it less than 18. So they just did not throw the ball a lot. They didn't necessarily run it a lot, and when they did run it, they weren't always efficient. They had a stretch of 3 games where they ran the ball for less than 75 yards, including a 14-yard game against FAMU where they ran the ball 35 times. Their best rushing game of the season was against Texas Southern, 52 carries for 225 yards. They also had a couple games where they ran for 87 yards in the beginning of the season. So just not any consistency anywhere, man. Like you look at the passing yardage, they topped out at 285. That was their season high. Their low was 124 against Bethune-Cookman. Against FAMU at 124. 140, 104 against Texas Southern, but they ran the ball a lot in that game, so you can kind of understand that. But this team just did not necessarily. They just, I don't know, they just couldn't really find things to work for them. I don't think they necessarily had a consistent plan of attack. I don't think they took advantage of some of the individual weapons that they had on that offense. And when you look at guys not really getting a lot of carries. Your quarterback had 77 carries, which was the second most on the team, and your other two backs, who were part of your three-headed monster, each had 74 carries apiece. Just not a lot there for you. So to me, the main issue with this team is identity. Can they define what they are? Are they gonna be a team that runs more than they throw? Are they gonna be a team try to be balanced, or are they gonna try to get the most out of your quarterback in the pass game and use the run game to supplement that? I think you need to find some kind of identity, because every team in the league, whether they win or they lose, they typically have an offensive identity, and this team doesn't. And and it's crazy because it changed coaching staff, and offense still is the same. You go back, Bama State offense for the last few years has been this way. They really did not take advantage of a really, really good defense last season. They were able to win 6 games, but the defense did a lot of that heavy lifting. So when you look at it that way, you realize that this offense did not necessarily do a lot of things. Their season high in points was 37. They scored under 20 points 6 times. They scored under 20 points 6 times. So you're not even you don't even have a lot of blowouts to your name. Your biggest margin of victory was 15 against Bethune-Cookman. So you won a game 23-13, 21-13. You won a game 16-13. Yeah, 24-9, 24-17, 37-22. So you just not really being able to score points. Obviously, scoring points is where you win games. So, they have to find a way to get the ball in the end zone. You have to be more consistent in the kicking game. All that kind of stuff adds up to an inefficient offense. So I would say your identity is the first and foremost thing, and that starts with your quarterback. Obviously, Demetrius Davis has to take another step if he's going to be the guy for you. You brought in Damon Stewart. You got Nakor Arlette as a backup. You got a couple guys, but Davis is the guy. So he's going to have to make it happen. Your running game, you need some more guys to put around how the power guy 6'1", 220. He's a bigger guy that can get you those tough yards, but I think you still need one of your other guys to step up to be the lightning to his thunder and kind of make this offense pop. Are you going to use Davis's legs more, or are you going to keep him in the pocket? He did miss some time with injury off and on last season, so that's something that you have to worry about, dependability and durability. Your receiving core, you have a lot of guys there, but not a lot of guys, who have great numbers. Obviously, Keyshawn Johnson is your top guy. You got Isaiah Scott coming back, and Darius Edmonds, who caught 12 passes for 236 yards, 19.6 yards per catch. I would like to see a guy like that get even more action. When you got a guy that's almost 20 yards per catch, that's a big play guy waiting to happen. So hopefully, if you can get the ball down the field to a guy like that, you can make some things happen. So it's all about finding an identity and sticking with it and finding some kind of way to put points on the board. It's not a lot to really give you confidence. Obviously with the season being not here yet, everybody's undefeated. Everybody can find, great things to say about their team right now. But this offense is really in a tough spot. So we'll see. You're playing some tough defenses early in the season. Southern, Florida A&M, Alcorn, Jackson State, all in your first 5 games. And Miles has been a team that's been a thorn in your side the last couple of years, even though they D2. So you can't really count them out as far as being a challenge for your offense. Bethune-Cookman, you know, we don't know. They brought in like a million guys, so who knows what they're gonna be. So early in the season, this offense is gonna be tested. You know, it doesn't really get a lot easier later. Gramblin's defense is tough. Prairie View defense can be tough, and they're playing in Prairie View, so they'll be tough. You got to go to Itabena. That's always tough. You close out with Tuskegee, and you know the Turkey Day Classic is always a toss up at times. So there's not a lot to get your feet wet in this game in this season. So you're gonna have to find a way to make some things happen right away. And you know, having an offense that wasn't necessarily very good last season doesn't really give you a lot of confidence going into the season. You didn't really hit the portal too heavy with guys from either FCS or FBS. So there's not a lot, not a lot that you could look at for that. You lost your best back and you lost your best receiver, well, one of your best receivers. So those are two big holes that you had to fill that you weren't really anticipating having to fill. On the offensive line has to continue to get better. There's a lot of questions on this offense, and we'll see how this goes. Can they get better? If you're a Bama State fan, you got to hope they will, because I think at some point having a great defense is gonna not be enough. I mean, obviously it's not enough to get you over the hump, but you don't want to continue to waste those efforts that your defense puts out week in and week out. So that's going to do it for today's show. We'll be back on Thursday with another edition of SWAC Smoke, number 99, number 100 on SWAC Smoke coming next week. So we're ready for that, man. We're going to put it down. We're going to rock it out. And then we start out with 12-team previews on Sunday with Alabama A&M. So y'all make sure to stay tuned to the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and keep rocking with us. And we're going to keep doing it for y'all. So we're going to holler at y'all on the rebound. Peace.